Welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom postgame show. I am James Ham here at Sleep Train Arena, where the Sacramento Kings fall to the Portland Trailblazers 110-99. They are now 2-3 under coach George Karl, 20-37 on the season, and they are about to enter a rough stretch where they play 8 games on the road, including 3 sets of back-to-back games. This was a hard-fought game tonight. Sacramento Kings just didn't have enough firepower to get through. No DeMarcus Cousins again. You're missing 23.7 points and over 12 rebounds a game. The Kings need his presence here, and he's still nursing a left ankle sprain and a left hip contusion. No Darren Collison still. We'll find out more about Darren Collison tomorrow when he goes in to visit a specialist in Philadelphia on his abdomen, some sort of core muscle issue that should require surgery. We'll know more, especially after Tuesday's surgery, if he actually does go through his surgery on Tuesday. The Kings fly out and play in New York tomorrow for a makeup game against the Knicks. Then they play back-to-back against the San Antonio Spurs. This is a season-long 8-game road trip that includes 3 sets of back-to-backs, a couple of really good teams on this trip, but by looking at the schedule, there's a possibility the Kings could maybe split this 8-game trip and go 4-4. So let's get to tonight's stats. Rudy Gay leads the way with 24 points, 10 of 22 shooting, 8 rebounds. He looked good. He's torn up the Portland Trailblazers all season long. He dropped 40 on them earlier in the season, 26 another night, averaged 33 points a game coming into tonight, so a little lower than his average against his team. But on the other side, he really did a good job against Nick Batum, holding Batum to absolutely nothing. Batum was totally ineffective almost the entire night. Where the Kings really lost this game was their ineffective defense on Damian Lillard tonight. Andre Miller and Ray McCallum had no answer for him. They did both play well on the offensive side of the ball. Andre Miller had a double-double tonight, 12 points and 10 assists. He did a nice job distributing, 6 of 7 from the field, and he turned the ball over 3 times, but he was the only King to really have major turnover trouble. Derek Williams comes off the bench and provides a huge spark. He scores 13 of his 18 points in the fourth quarter when the Kings they made a run. They got it all the way down to 3 points, and this game actually looked like, maybe the Kings could come back and beat the Portland Trailblazers. But in the end, it just wasn't enough. Williams, what he did tonight that was different from normal is that he sprinted the floor. He didn't just run the floor. He was so fast going up and down the floor, and both Andre Miller and Omri Caspi found him for alley-oop dunks. He had the fans rocking. He really did a nice job tonight. It's something, though, that we've seen in the past where Derek Williams has a nice game like this, and then he disappears for 2 or 3 games. It's about consistency for Derek Williams, and we haven't seen it so far this season. Same goes for Ben McLemore. Ben McLemore doesn't have a bad game, finishes with 12 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 2 of 5 from behind the arc. And the one thing I'll point out about about Ben McLemore is, actually there's 2 things. First up, last night, the last game he played, he had 12 free throw attempts. He was super aggressive, and that's what Ben McLemore needs to do. Tonight, only 2 trips to the line in 24 minutes of play. That's not going to cut it. He needs to be more aggressive. Also, the other thing I'll point out is that he needs to add some major weight this summer. What we saw, Wes Matthews tore him up tonight, took him down low, scored over him in the post, and the Kings actually had to make a move there at that position. Coach Karl went to Omri Caspi to play the 2 for large stretches in both the first half and the second half. It was kind of a strange way that he ran Caspi at sort of a stronger and not a bigger player in Wes Matthews, but a stronger player. The other side of the point guard battle, Ray McCallum had a nice night, 12 points, 5 assists, 5 of 13 shooting. He played 25 minutes. The thing I'll say about Ray McCallum is that he's making the most of his opportunities. The second straight season that he's replaced a starting point guard in the final stretch of the season. Last year was Isaiah Thomas. This year it's Darren Collison. And he's making the most of it. Coming out of tonight's game, he's averaging 12 points a game over his last 5 games, all starts. And that's something you hope to see more of. He's a young player. He's got a lot of growing to do, but he's learning from one of the better sort of tacticians that we've seen in the game in Andre Miller. Let's cut to Ray McCallum talking about Andre Miller.
But he does a good job of changing his pace and changing speed, and he can sees the floor tremendously well. He's really good with the kick-ahead pass and just always finding an open guy, making tough passes, and he's also really vocal out there leading guys, getting guys in the spots, and just being a true point guard.
All right, let's get to our 3 keys to the game. The first key tonight is finesse to a fault. The Portland Trailblazers love to shoot the 3. They love to score on the perimeter. Tonight, the Kings held them to 10 of 24 shooting from behind the arc. Not a spectacular defensive effort from the Kings overall. They gave up 49.4% shooting to the Portland Trailblazers. Where the Kings really did a good job was on guys like Aaron Aflalo, Nick Batum, and Steve Blake. They stymied those guys. They struggled against Lillard and against Wes Matthews, 2 really good players, but still they struggled against those 2. I'll point this out too. LaMarcus Aldridge goes 9 of 25 from the field. He scores 26 points and grabs 15 rebounds. But I thought the Kings did a nice job. Jason Thompson couldn't stay on the floor because of foul trouble, but Ryan Hollins came in and actually played well defensively. Where Ryan Hollins struggled was that he only grabbed 3 rebounds in 28 minutes, and sort of that's been a trend for Hollins where he's not a great rebounder for a 7-footer. But defensively, he allowed LaMarcus Aldridge to turn in the post, and then he would suck up onto him, and Aldridge would kick out. It was a good defensive effort by Hollins. So let's go to our turnover watch, which is point number 2. The Kings actually, for once, did a nice job with the turnovers. They only had 13 for the game. Andre Miller, again, the only player with 3 turnovers. Everyone else was 2 or below. They only gave up 13 points off of turnovers. Since George Karl took over this team, the Kings are averaging almost 20 turnovers a game, so 13 is a breath of fresh air for this club. Let's get to our final key. The final key is super sub. The Portland Trailblazers made a nice move at the deadline, picking up Aaron Aflalo from the Denver Nuggets, a very solid pickup, a guy who's been a starter in the league, who can do a lot of things. He can hit the 3, he can defend, he's athletic. He's been tearing it up for Portland since the trade, but tonight the Kings really did a good job of stopping him. They held Aflalo to just 3 points. He turned the ball over 4 times, 1 of 4 from the field, and that's in 27 minutes. A good performance by the Kings against a very solid NBA player. And then the Kings bench, to sort of combat the super sub of Portland, the Kings bench went off for 44 points tonight, which is rare that we see something like that from this Kings bench. They've struggled all season long. Tonight, good effort out of Derek Williams, really good effort out of Andre Miller. Omri Caspi supplied solid minutes again. Reggie Evans was sort of a rebounding force again. So a good night overall by the Kings bench. Let's get to our MVP of the night. Our MVP for me, it's got to be Damian Lillard. He blew up in the second half, scored 19 of his 31 in the second half, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Again, 9 points in the fourth quarter, 10 in the third quarter. He's an all-star. He could have been a Sacramento King. Sometimes those things don't work out. That's going to be one that the Kings look at for probably a decade or more. And when Damian Lillard inches his way towards the Hall of Fame, the Kings are really going to regret taking Thomas Robinson over him with the 4th pick and letting Damian Lillard slide to the 5th pick. So the Kings head off on the road, 8 games, a brutal stretch, including back-to-back games to start it, New York and San Antonio. Again, the only reason that is on the schedule is because they had a makeup game against New York for the fake snow game, the snow out game where it didn't actually snow in New York. So the Kings have a tough road trip. We'll see how they do. We'll have road reaction post-game shows all over the place over the next 2 weeks before the Kings return home for March 16th. During the stretch, while the Kings are on the road, Jason Thompson should overcome Peja Stojakovic and become the all-time leader in games played for the Sacramento Kings. A monumental feat for Jason Thompson, for a guy taking out a rider, a small school. We'll see how that plays out, and you'll get to read a column right about the time that happens where Jason Thompson kind of expresses his displeasure with maybe the fact that he's going to be the all-time games player, the all-time games leader in Sacramento Kings history. Kind of an interesting interview that we've got coming up with Jason Thompson. All right, so that's going to do it for this edition of the Cowbell Kingdom post-game show. Thank you again to Kamani David for the filming and editing of this. We'll be back later this week with nonstop road reaction postgame shows with Mr. Rui Thomas. I'm James Ham. You've been watching the Cowbell Kingdom postgame show. Thanks for tuning in.